Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 29 of Tactical Crouch, the show where we discuss a ton of competitive Overwatch topics, usually around Overwatch League, but not always YouTube. So, keep it on there. Of course, this is a special episode. Not very often do we just get to sit down, us three, myself, KickedTripod, and of course, the brains of the show, Volamel and Yiska. Joe, good to see you, man. Been a while. Still can't get you into WoW with me, man.
See, I'm a veteran player. A lot of people, it's a common thing in esports to talk about, oh, how did you get your handle? How's this, that, the other thing? I got it from randomizing on World of Warcraft the month before Burning Crusade launched. That was my first character. I was a Night Elf priest, and my name was Volamel. And I've played it for a really long time. I don't know, man. Maybe 8.2 might be interesting. We'll see, but
it's the perfect time right now, though, because you can get all the stuff and achievements ready for when 8.2 drops. I'm ready for you, man. I'll pay for your character transfer if you need me to. I don't care. All right. And of course, from Germany, Yiska. Good to see you, man. It's I don't think Joe and I tend to get to talk a little bit throughout the week, but Yiska, you and I don't as much, like privately. So, hey, good to see you, dude. What's up?
What up? You could also
lives in Germany.
You could also play Diablo 3 with me to prepare for Diablo Immortal.
I can't. I don't want to. How much would that cost me? I own the base pack, Diablo 3.
So you just need Reaper of Souls. I think that's
that's it.
20, 30 bucks. I wouldn't. To be completely honest with you, I think we'll be getting some news come BlizzCon for Diablo 4. And I don't think it's worth getting into now. I think Diablo 4, just hold out for that.
Do you think that we're getting BlizzCon this year?
Yeah.
They normally announce it in April.
I'd be pretty surprised if we did.
I would be surprised too. But that's obviously not what we're here for. We're not speculating about BlizzCon or Diablo or WoW. So don't worry, that's your obligatory 4 minutes of off-topic stuff. So let's talk about on-topic stuff. But before we do, let's talk about that. But let's not. Housekeeping really quick. Make sure to follow Tactical Crouch at @tactical_crouch on Twitter. Search for Tactical Crouch anywhere on the internet. And there's one other thing that we actually wanted to bring up that was kind of interesting. A lot of people over the last couple of weeks have expressed hey, we love when you have guests on. Hey, we love when your show is on Tuesday at 11 a.m., just like it's always been every week. And those are a little bit conflicting because when you bring on high-profile guests, they typically don't have the schedule to work within your schedule. You work within theirs, which is what we've been doing. And I think overall, the episodes have been great, but it's kind of difficult to have 6 hours of Overwatch on a night and then listen to a 2-hour podcast, and 30 minutes of it's not 2 hours, 75 minutes, and 20 to 30 minutes of it's talking about matches that are already happening. So we're actually playing around with the idea of having this be the core show on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. as consistently as we can, which is usually pretty dang consistent, but also looking at doing around the same length, maybe 60 minutes or so, bringing on some special guests when they can't make it to the prime showtime. So part of what we're doing, though, is we're looking at maybe doing a Patreon to do that. And it would be really low tiers. It would all be about improving the quality of the show, bringing on better guests. We've got some pretty cool perks in mind. So, we really want to do a game night with just us. And, imagine doing some custom games with Yiska and Joe. And you find out that for as big of brains as they have for Overwatch, maybe that doesn't translate in
trivia.
game
Holy
as well.
God.
So looking at doing, that and other nights like that. So that's something we're looking at. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Yay or nay. It's totally fine. But so that's just something that we wanted to bring up. But now we need to talk about Overwatch League. There's a lot been going on in Overwatch League. First and foremost, we do have the Dallas Homestand this weekend. And
we do.
That's a big one. So this is going to be the first time really that we've actually had a home, right? This is the first time that we've had a home game.
Yeah. Outside of just like LA, obviously. I think that's kind of a given, but outside of California and having LA teams play in LA, yeah, this is going to be a pretty big first for the league.
And so
can I say how BS it is that Stage 4 has those homestand games in LA?
Yeah, that's
come on.
That's phoning it in. Like nobody else wanted it. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Oh, really? And so you're talking about because Stage 3 is Atlanta, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so Stage 4 is
It's
LA.
just like, hey guys, we're playing in LA where we always play. Or maybe not. Maybe they'll be in like
probably
Allianz
not,
Arena.
but still. Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, that's a big
boo for me, dog. Yeah, I don't love that at all.
That's dumb. Like, not even in New York, like nothing.
I would have liked to see it off America and just to see, like, as a pilot, Stage 4.
I feel like if you were going to do that, you had to do it earlier in the season, not later.
Yeah, maybe.
You do like Stage 3 or Stage 2, maybe in, I don't know, the UK. That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But,
so that's going on. They sold out. They
good.
sold out, which is awesome. Over 2 days. Yeah. The tickets were not cheap. And Atlanta did the same thing. And like, man, I got to remember what the price on the tickets were, but I thought it was like,
they're pretty reasonable. I mean,
so for like general admission, they're not bad. They're like $40 a day.
Yeah.
$45 a day. And then
if you want like extra perks,
VIP is like 200 plus, if I remember right.
It's pretty standard, no?
Which, like it's kind of impressive.
For sure, yeah.
That they're selling out, because I know Dallas did something fairly similar. So for me, it's really impressive that there is that level of
interest.
Interest in these homestands. My question for either of you guys would be: do you think that changes at all once it's not once an entire season in a single city, and now we're dealing with, let's say we have 28 games throughout a season, and 14 are played at home, so in your home stadium, do you think that you all of a sudden are having to charge a lot less for those?
I think it depends.
Tickets?
I think it depends on exactly what they do. But either way, I don't think it changes. I think people are pretty interested in this whole geolocation thing. And it's not just hypotheticals anymore. It's like, oh, well, we see it succeed in American traditional sports. Maybe we could tap into that same kind of market in esports. Now we're starting to see a little bit more of a proof of concept. Hopefully the entire show is good. I think this is going to be super important, but no, I don't think that the interest goes away. As long as the show itself goes off without a hitch. Of course, there's probably going to be some hiccups. I think it's safe to assume that there's going to be some mishaps, which again, like Yiska said, it's to be expected. But as long as everything goes well, and hopefully the fans get some extra little fun little things to do. Maybe Mickey shows up, does some stuff with the fans. That'd be cool. Part of content. I think this is really starting to build some interest and show some proof of concept.
That the interesting thing about all of this is that, from what I've heard, the size of the endeavor for each team is very different.
Sure.
Of course, Dallas is playing in that big stadium, right? I've heard much smaller venues with like 300 people.
Assumed smaller venues. Did you assume that they were going to just go like, yeah, we want a stadium. I want a 6,000 man stadium. Did you assume that? Because I assumed these were going to be like small cafes. That's where we start. If we sell out, great, awesome. This geolocation thing's supposed to be long run.
In the middle. Not huge stadiums.
Okay.
Not half bowls at hockey arenas. But
yeah.
From what I know, so I know of at least 2 Overwatch League teams who are looking at sub 2,000 to 4,000 person arenas.
That's just crazy
for
to me.
their regular season games in season 3 and beyond.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope like they know more than I do, but like that just seems like a lot. Like we can't even get people to fill out our arena. You know what I mean?
Dude, but the thing is, imagine the buy-ins and everything and who's involved, and then like could you imagine just being like an Overwatch League team and then hosting your matches in the Tech TV gaming bar or whatever? That does seem like a serious drop. So everyone's like cloud dripping hardcore. I feel like when the shock walks in, like a shareholder or whatever is like a period to a sentence every time it's brought up. Sure. And then to see that contrasted against that, I think teams individually are playing very different ball games there.
Well, there's a lot of factors too, right? They don't have to sell out every game. Like coming from a Minnesota Twins fan going to Metrodome games for, 10 years, let me tell you, they still found a way to field a baseball team, and even with $2 hot dogs on Wednesdays, right? So there's like that aspect of it. It's just because you have 2,000 seats doesn't mean you have to fill them to be, solvent or whatever.
For sure.
There's also the aspect of, I don't believe that there's anything that I've seen about some sort of exclusivity, in the sense that if you create, we have the Fusion Stadium now, I believe it's like the primary one that we know of something being built, that there's no, like, that's the only thing that can go on there. So you could have other things go on there throughout, the time, because obviously Overwatch League is not around 6 months out of the year in its current iteration. So it's not just like if they don't sell out tickets and all that stuff, it's doomed. But it's
I think, I mean, right? I totally agree with the non-exclusivity. Like, they are free to do whatever they want there. But I really don't. I think Philadelphia is an interesting look because they're partnered with a lot of different organizations that can do many different events and this, that, the other thing. But when I look at let's see, Boston, maybe. Like, where else is Boston tied that they could do something else in esports and have it be esports related?
Does that have to be esports related, though? I mean, like, there was some talk about, I can't remember, I think it was Washington, D.C., where it was like WNBA and esports. We're going to be like the two things going on there outside of like your standard
if you want to
stadium events.
Draw in something else completely, I guess that's fair. I mean, it depends on if you're building infrastructure specifically for esports. I guess that's an assumption on my part. If you're actually building something, or if you're just not using infrastructure that's already been set in place. So for Boston, I'd assume that they, the craft group probably has something that they are just going to loan out to the team when they need it. But for those who are actually making infrastructure, so by infrastructure, stadiums, hiring people to work there, I'd imagine that you're going to have something there. And yeah, you could do traditional sports, you could do other events, but I don't know. I hope there's plans set in motion to do that, because it's gonna have to happen. I don't think you build a 2,000 to 4,000 person stadium and only do it for half a year. Like, it's got to have to be used somewhere else. Like for Philadelphia, right? Like, I think they could have like a show match when like SKT1 comes over, because they're partnered, by marriage almost with that team. And you can have like like there's events to be had there with that organization that are kind of like internal that you could have. So if you're a fan of Philadelphia, you're a fan of this, that, the other thing, like you can come and watch here. Like, you have a home. Does Valiant, for instance, they could take MIBR and maybe put them in, have like a CSGO like event there, like that'd be kind of cool. Or there's London, when London makes their stadium, or whatever they're going to be doing, there's all kinds of Cloud9 teams that you can bring in. But like for these non-endemic teams, is there a plan in place? Like, is that going to be successful for both fans? Like, I don't know.
That was all along the interesting part about, so the rationale early for localization was often that these sports teams had like arenas and there were like off seasons and it was like very accessible and you could overlap it. But this is not what's happening. Like most team backed teams. So sports team backed teams like Boston or like I suppose Gladiators is one, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I believe so.
They're not in the city where their sports team's from.
Right.
So that in itself doesn't work then. And it's very interesting to me that I wouldn't have thought it possible that people are actually building arenas for that. And of course, these are multi-purpose things, and it's not really just the one thing. It's a cool PR move to do it that way. But even if it's not, like, real estate is a solid investment anyway. So if you have the money, whatever, right? But yeah, it's interesting.
It's definitely repurposable. Like if this whole esports thing goes bust, which again, like I don't think it is, yeah, you can just use it for something else. Like have it as a convention center and just host stuff out of it and rent it out for sure.
Are you saying LA isn't from their home city?
The Gladiators investors, I don't know too much about them, but
yeah, that's just me being European, honestly. Like
okay,
apparently both of them are. Yeah,
I think they both are. So I didn't.
Okay.
You know me, when I come up and correct either of you, it usually ends up with a pie in the face for me. So we'll chalk that up. We'll chalk that up in the one column. Yeah, but I wonder if one of the Chinese teams, especially, like, aren't based in the specific.
Yeah, I would.
Chinese. Anyways, the
NBA Rams. Okay.
So yeah, so the Gladiators owner owns the LA Rams.
Yeah.
So take everything I said and then put it positively and ask yourself if they are using these facilities, because I don't see our season necessarily filling their off season.
Yeah.
Like there is a ton of overlap. Right.
And there is. And to be fair, like I live next to the Pepsi Center in Denver for years, where the Nuggets play, the Avalanche play, and then they still find times for concerts on the weekend. So like there is a world where there's some mythical boardroom somewhere where somebody from the NBA and NHL and the concert guys sit down and go, all right, let's schedule out these games.
Yeah.
So like I don't think anybody here in chat on Reddit or here in the show knows what, like, the specifics on how that works. Is it feasibly possible? Sure. We don't know what the scheduling restrictions are for Overwatch League matches. We don't know that there's going to be, once there's home and away games, maybe there's 2 games all 7 days. Right? And you can have them whenever you want based on where they are. Like, I don't know. Like it becomes increasingly complex the more you like break the mold of what we have from Owl now to what it'll look like. Well, we still don't even know. We still don't even know if it means that there's 28 games and you don't play 14, 7 games at home and 7 games away in order, rather than like, oh, we're going to play 2 games at home and then 1 away and then another 1 away at a different team. And then, kind of like the traditional sports that we see, at least here in the US, right? Where, you have a hockey team that plays a game in Minneapolis one night or St. Paul one night, and then you go to Chicago and then you go to Atlanta. Or if it's something that's going to be a lot, especially when you're talking worldwide, if it's going to be something that's a lot more, hey, this is an event on the weekend. There's going to be 4 teams here and we're going to be doing it this way. So I don't know.
It's interesting.
We spent a little too much time on this here. Congrats though. I'm really excited to see Homestand. Owl is going to be short this week, obviously, with only 2 days worth of games. It's going to be starting at Saturday and Sunday, 9 a.m. on Saturday, Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So make sure to tune in for that. Should be fun. I'm excited to see what the production value ends up being.
Yeah, I want to make it pretty clear, at least from me. I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I wish that everybody that works in the Overwatch League the best of luck with putting this on, because I think it is going to be really pivotal for the success of the league long term. So get out there, do it well. Hope for the best, and hopefully everything goes well, because I'll be a little sad if it don't. Be a little sad.
So, pretty interesting. This is kind of interesting. I only want to touch on it briefly. Is that Overwatch League was the most watched channel on Twitch last week? I don't know if you guys knew that, but
cool.
That's what happens when you stream 30 hours a game a week. Just kidding.
With infinite reruns.
Any takes here? Is this like a big deal? Overwatch League is alive and on top, or is it kind of par for the course? Overwatch League is doing well. Viewership is overall doing really well, but this isn't something that we should over sensationalize.
Yeah, I don't think it's something that somehow proves we were right all along type of thing. I think it's nice when you look at the health of the game, or at least the competitive side of the game. I can't speak for the actual health of the game. Those numbers are kind of completely hidden away. But for the Overwatch League in particular, it's a positive thing for sure. How positive? I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know. I don't know if I'm wrong in this, but is it not a little skewed because they're rerunning it all the time? Is it not that of other events, other kind of premier esports events don't use the rerun feature as much? Like there are some questions there for me. But again, overall, it seems like a good thing. It's nice to see that,
it's not bad.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. That, and I don't know if didn't LCS have their last like regular season competitions like last week?
That lined up, but yeah, they pretty sure they did.
Yeah, so
that's good. Everything about this is a good thing. It's not the end all be all. Like, we've cracked the code, Pandora's box is opened. Overwatch League is going to be a success because this week we have, it's nice to see that in week, what are we in 3 of stage 2, that people are still interested. That's really good. That's been a big worry.
That the thing is, the viewership is actually not that amazing. I feel like we dropped to 60K quite often. It is sort of we like, especially in Europe. I don't know what it's like in the US, but we're getting like the first summer vibes here. We had vacation days as well.
Sure.
And the viewership probably drops across Twitch, but in general, I think there was a big drop off for stage 2, and I think the Overwatch League system itself doesn't inherently makes it so that stage 2 and stage 3 will always drop viewership.
Boy, don't you get ahead of us here, boy. We're going to talk about that later on. We're talking about the Overwatch League structure because this specifically prefaces a lot of different interesting ideas. So we're going to go to that in a second. Overall, congratulations to Overwatch League. I'm a little bit concerned because there's no other tournament organizers there. Number one, it's only 800,000 more than what Tfue and Ninja. Like, it's really interesting to know that one single person playing a game brings in 80% of the viewership of what a $200 or $300 million league or whatever the buy-ins were times 20 now
on Twitch.
Yep.
On Twitch, to be fair, just completely on Twitch.
I mean, that's a whole nother bag of worms you want to get into. Do you think Twitch is gonna be back? Because I think that deal's ticking down. You think Twitch is coming back? You think we're going to MLG.TV?
I don't know if any other websites have the infrastructure to do command center.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's specifically a Twitch thing.
I think that's a technology for much of it. I personally wouldn't have minded watching on MLG TV. They had like these in-built stats. They have the technology from the player.
I think they had a better player. No.
Yeah, like
higher.
Yeah, it was like 12,000 rather
rate,
than the 6,500 or whatever. That at least in season 1, I don't know what it is anymore. Benchmob, no, Overwatch League is not going to Tinder. is not going to be streamed on Tinder. So
swipe right for stats.
Swipe right for stats.
Good.
Yikes. So anyways, either way, that's kind of an interesting stat. We're going to keep watching those and see kind of how that goes throughout the rest of the time. Let's talk about
Definitely.
well, actually we have one trade this week, and this one, it's a little close to home, being here in San Jose, just, 45 minutes away from San Francisco. Sleepy from the San Francisco Shock, famed, maybe not so famed, but just really solid Zen player. Overall,
I'd say popular.
Yeah,
seems like
popular.
the community kind of latched onto him.
Dude clicked heads often. When he right clicked, and he was on. Man, he's gonna. But anyways, he's going from the Shock to the Washington Justice. Joe, I know. So actually, I want to go Yiska first. You weren't the most pumped about this trade.
It seems so uninspired. Like, okay, so part of me hoped that the ARC trade, knowing that they probably paid a good chunk,
Sure.
was like, okay, we're now bringing in the big bucks, we're like changing all this team, like we're trying to make it a lot better. Don't get me wrong, Sleepy is an upgrade, but I would have liked to see more. I'm not gonna lie. I think there's still some talent out there. Of course, other people are also vying for the same talent. And it's very possible that, for instance, someone like Rice wasn't affordable. I know that Shock at times are pretty okay with the buyouts they have let players have just for them to continue having a career. They're pretty real in that regard, as Dallas would be, for instance. And I wonder if how much the buyout, if there was a buyout, whatever it is, right? Like, just like,
I'd imagine there was.
He wasn't going to realistically start ahead of Violet, because Violet is just one of the best new Zens in the league. And then he now gets a chance on that other team. But yeah, I
think for a mid-season pickup, like there is more logistics to signing players, especially in the mid-season, that I think you're giving them credit for. If you want to chase after Wanjali / Rise, you have to wait. He's not of age yet, if I remember correctly. You have to give him a visa. So, how much is that investment going to impact your season right now? For the money.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think it was that much. I don't think it was near ARC payment levels, but I think it's fine. I think it's just a flat upgrade. I think it's an immediate placement that you can have that should see some benefits. Reportedly he hadn't been practicing with the team. It was kind of a last minute deal. Should be a net positive thing overall. And if they do want to make like big wide sweeping changes, then I'd be looking at mid-season for that. If they're going to sign like, a foreign player, whether it be European or Korean or maybe even Chinese, who knows?
Yeah. Especially, I think they're not done.
Oh, but God, no.
So with that said, like, it depends on what kind of aspirations they have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just finishing out the season strong, maybe making the stage playoff late could be a fine goal.
Sure.
Like, those moves don't speak to me that they are taking on the fight to, like,
no.
really turn the team around.
I think they're trying to. They're going to have to do a lot more. I'll agree with you there. I think they're going to have to make some pretty big, I'd say, cuts from the top down, and the roster will kind of change because of that. You start at the top and get people in who have a better grasp.
I mean, let's not forget the guy or the position with the vision is going to change soon, right? And that in itself could bring about a big change, for instance. So, and I'm of course talking about Kate Mitchell, GM.
Sure. I don't know.
We'll see.
You think that'll change things? Because I don't think that changes much of anything.
But maybe not. Maybe the restrictions that the owners impose are just like so limiting that there's just no change possible anymore as well. And that is basically also most definitely the case for some other Overwatch League teams.
Sure.
So that would be outrageous, right? Like that's sadly standard for some of those teams. But yeah, it will be interesting to see.
I think that like the Justice and the Mayhem have to get their stuff together. We saw Shanghai at least do some big moves postseason. Obviously, their mid-season moves weren't as optimistic as they hope they were, but I'm hoping that teams have learned from that and are going to be as aggressive as they're quoted as being, and hopefully these mid-season moves are going to be big and they can turn around their season, because it's not doing any of us any good. It's not doing the league any good. It's not doing the investors any good when you have teams that struggle to find wins. I think that's not good. That's just a net bad thing, and I think it's disappointing.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. I want to talk about last week's games, though, for a second. Let's just move on. Talk about last week's games for a second. Because there's one really, I think, really surprising result in all of this. And I'm going to take it to Yiska first. NYXL falling to Atlanta Reign 3-1. What?
Yeah. That was definitely the biggest upset of the season. If possible, maybe the biggest upset we've seen in regular season play, I would say. I would have to think about the playoffs once again.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that was quite insane. Also, that they then dropped the series against Guangzhou right after. That was insane. Like, we looked at the Charge game. I think I have a better understanding now, but I think what is happening with Atlanta is they are pretty good at prepping. And if a team plays a specific style, I think they're pretty bad at making up solutions on the fly. Like, you could probably just curveball them to death fairly reliably. I will also say that some players had standout performances for their relative level. Dogman played very well, like had a bunch of very important first kills, especially on Jonak, for instance. Didn't look as impressive on against the Charge, where Shu by all means was the better flex support in that match.
So you think it was part stylistic difference and then part like all in from Atlanta, like just all in New York and really take it to them? And then, I know that you guys had done some content and review for the Atlanta Charge game, and it sounded like they did look a little lost. Do you think that was the case? Do you think it's more of a stylistic thing and New York maybe sleeping on them as they kind of tend to do?
Possible that New York didn't take that match that seriously. It's also possible that just a lot of things converged to work again. Darko certainly played a very good series, and Dogman, so they had really, like, in their spectrum of what these players are capable of, they were definitely like towards the upper side of the spectrum, and that simply wasn't the case for the Charge series. Like, also a lot of communication mistakes against Charge. Charge itself looked much better than we gave it credit for. Like, a lot of people, me including, had them among the worst teams this stage, and they definitely stepped it up there. It looks crazy on paper. So the discrepancy itself, the win is still crazy as hell.
Yeah.
But
that's pretty wild.
Divide between like winning against NYXL and then dropping against Charge, like that was like Charge getting much better, playing a lot of wacky stuff, and then Atlanta not having standout performances, and then it made sort of more sense.
Joe, Yiska, do either of you feel like Baby Bay factored well into the upset over the Charge? Like, I mean, he's obviously still new here. Do you think that this is a team that maybe would not have won were it not Baby Bay hanging out with them?
I still think Baby Bay is a poor man's friend. Still think that.
I need to know.
Right.
I need to know what goes on behind, like what kind of role he plays within the team. I know, and I've mentioned this before. He's very, very vocal. If he is kind of leading the charge and calling the shots a little bit, but isn't there mechanically, it's possible that he was just prepared. He had all the notes memorized from the coaching staff. Like going into New York, he just had them playbooked out, right? That's a possibility. I can't. It's hard for me to speculate on if that's necessarily the case. I'd love to maybe get Brad on and maybe have him kind of talk about the signing and what he thought about it. So, Brad, if you're watching, I'm coming for you.
Sure, he is. Yeah.
Against Charge, Baby Bay really felt like a little bit like a space cadet. Like,
I mean, there are times where he
all
just
over the place, focusing. Like the one thing that stuck in my head was go to Busan, and then what's it called, where there's like the
describe it, Mecha Base.
The walls that go up, Mecha Base, yeah.
Mecha Base.
Like Pokpo is completely somewhere else in Dako, and he's like hunting Chara for no reason, and it's just like some space cadet play where you're not really in the zone and
sure,
not really on the same page as your tanks. So
fair enough.
So let's. So I need to. Man, is this actually right? I need to make sure that this is right because it doesn't feel. Before I go into my next question, week 3. Yeah, week 3. So let's talk about the Dallas Fuel for a second. So last week, Dallas Fuel go 0-8 in their map differential against Seoul Dynasty and Vancouver Titans. Not super surprising for Vancouver, but Seoul specifically.
Yeah, the Seoul match was pretty shocking to me.
Was not, just not really great. And we're coming off the cusp where a lot of analysts in the Overwatch League, outside of the Overwatch League, ourselves are starting to ask the question: are the Dallas Fuel a team along with the LA Gladiators that can kind of jockey themselves into that top 5 in Overwatch League?
One of them is.
And we had kind of said, like, yeah, we actually think that they might be after the results from this week. Either of you think that the Dallas Fuel are actually a top 5 team in Overwatch League right now?
That takes a lot of faith.
No,
no, absolutely not.
No, I think.
They had the chance to become one, and then Seoul just body bagged them, and now it's almost definitively the case that they are not a top 5 team.
I need to see some more better. Like I said this kind of in private. Like I have not been a big fan of Closer. Let me see if I can remember what match it was that I thought he kind of fed his brains out. Against Paris. I rewatched that Paris game against Dallas, and I was not impressed with his positioning. It felt like he was getting lapped on charge constantly, not going for aggressive boops. Like maybe they're trying to go for this passive, like NYXL-esque style, but like not a great look. Not too impressed by him. That might catch some flack, but I'm pretty confident in saying that. I think they might be. Honestly, I think they might actually drop a few maps to Valiant. To be completely honest with you, I think Valiant are looking up. I think I think they might struggle against Valiant a little bit.
See, in my mind, I think there's a possibility that the local matchup, especially around Texas, like that might be a little bit intimidating for the Dallas players to play at home. Like in front of your own crowd. I'm not sure. Like it doesn't
necessarily can have the reverse effect. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Here's one thing I want to pose to each of you to put a pin in it. how what's the over under that there's more Houston fans that show up to the Dallas Homestand?
Oh, that would be.
I think Houston's got one hell of a fan base. What you think about them that goes out the window for a moment, right? But just the sheer number, or like, oh, there's a game in Texas. Oh, let me just hop on over.
The Fuel,
it's not next door by any means, but
the Fuel fan base though is nothing to sneeze at.
Sure.
They're just less annoying on social media.
Definitely.
Could be few
that
less
shows
high
some passion
screechers,
though, you know? Show some passion. Those passionate fans might be buying up them tickets. Buying up them.
I mean,
tickets.
I think that's the design. That has to be the design, right? For the last game of the stage being Houston versus Fuel. Right?
See,
like that has to be the design.
Last game of the week.
Sorry. What did I say? Stage? Week.
Yeah.
Week.
Especially at home. Gonna be a big, who wins Texas?
It's a Texas homestand.
Yes.
It's what it is. They want to see that there. Anything more than 65-35, though, I'd be super surprised. But still, 35%, especially at the decibel and like the hertz and the kilohertz that those screams get up to. I don't think you need much more than that. The Houston Outlaws fans are screamers. That you cannot deny.
Yeah, I wonder if it's going to be a bigger slaughter than the next Game of Thrones episode, and it's like almost competing with it in the time slot. It's like the Green Walkers, like just like.
Oh man. Game of Thrones. By the way, Game of Thrones has 4 weeks to pick up before I never watch it again.
Oh, so. Come on! You say that now. And again, I don't watch Game of Thrones.
Joe, there's only 4 weeks left.
That you can chastise me all you want. I might pick it up once it's done.
There's only 4
maybe when
weeks
it's done.
left. That's the joke.
You say that now, just from my tangential knowledge of what's going on, especially in the show. I think you're going to be completely flipping the script by next week.
Yeah.
I think next week you're going to be like, "Oh, Game of Thrones is so good!" Like, whoa. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm telling them. It's like
don't explain to him. Just let the viewers enjoy this one.
All right. Anyways, that was totally tangential. I don't know how Game of Thrones got brought into this. Yeah. By the way, I've loved them. I've loved the episodes. All right, we gotta get. We're not going to. Oh my god. Anyways,
Joe is the Green Walker.
Come play WoW with me, Joe. All right. Last one. Kind of fun. Shanghai Dragons 3-0 the Houston Outlaws. So we're kind of dropping back in the rankings a little bit. We're not talking top teams. We're not talking top playoff teams. We're talking Shanghai Dragons and Houston Outlaws. Yeah, teams, maybe 10 to 16. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, that giant cluster that whole thing is right there.
Yes.
So, anyways. First of all, Shanghai Dragons 3-0ing Houston with 2 matches left. The Dragons are currently 6th in stage 2 and play the Washington Justice and San Francisco Shock. Is this the stage that we and I believe they're 3-2 right now. So Yiska has said a thing on the show that 4-3 is what you're shooting for if you want to make playoffs.
At minimum, yeah.
And at minimum, right? I don't know the math on it, but it's highly unlikely that you go, less than that and make playoffs. Yiska, is this a Shanghai Dragons team that we're going to see in the playoffs here for stage 2?
Dude, they are at +2. That's not good.
They're close. I mean, it's definitely not good.
Like, do they? I mean, it kind of depends on if they 4-0 the Justice, right?
They get 4-0 by Shock, though. That is the problem.
But a 4-3 +2.
Yeah, let's see. Last stage.
Stage 1, the lowest map differential that got in was +3, and that was Boston.
But it also didn't have 3 people with 0 wins.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's right. I don't have the page open right now.
What did you say?
I don't have the, but there's 3 teams with no wins in stage 2.
Let's see. I have it open.
I think it's
no wins. You've got 3 teams. You have Houston, Washington, Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Have
Yeah,
0 wins.
So currently. I believe one has only played 4 matches though. So
3 matches.
Houston has played 3 and they have won 1 map. That is pretty surprising. They have won 1 map out of 3 matches. They are -9 differential.
They're due. Iceham Jealous says they're due. Yeah. So is this something like is this a do?
I think Shanghai has a good shot at making it in, but I don't think it's going to be up to them. I think that they have to 4-0 Justice. If they drop a map, it's going to be even harder. And you're not beating Shock. No chance in hell.
Can they take 1? Can they take 2? Can they?
No.
Can they force a real weird like 2-1? Where they win 1 and they tie 1?
It doesn't feel likely.
I'm not even convinced they will 4-0 Justice, to be honest.
Yeah,
Shock have not lost a map this stage. We talked about last week, and apparently this is on my bad because I usually do like the little scouting, like let's talk about little bits here. We talked about NYXL not dropping a match, and they lose a whole series to Atlanta Reign.
How's it going, guys?
Yeah. The SF Shock, on the other hand, are 20-0 map differential.
I don't think they're a team that is gonna drop maps here. Week 5.
So you trust?
I trust Shock.
You trust Shock's ability to not drop maps over the, I guess I would say, the Justice's ability to contest maps.
Yeah. Because we know they drop maps against bad teams, right? They played 3-1 against Florida. They played 3-0 against Houston. Yep. In general, the delta of their games is pretty like they're
not amazing by any means. Like they'll lose maps. But I think there's a good chance that we could see them. This is their best chance. I think
there are quite a few teams who haven't played. So like the Dragons are 3-2. But you have quite a few, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams, 8 teams that have played 4 matches or less so far. So
real talk on that subject, the Houston Outlaws might not win a game this stage.
Yeah.
Who do they have left?
They play at home, or in Dallas, I should say. They play Seoul. You're not beating Seoul. They play Dallas. It'd be a stretch to even give them a couple maps, right? Then they play Guangzhou, who have looked better. Looked a lot better. That's going to be a tough ask. Don't think you beat them. And then you go London, who again, massive improvements.
Yeah.
You're not beating London.
They're 4-0 right now. Haven't played the toughest teams.
There's a good chance the Houston Outlaws do not win a game in stage 2. No matches won. 0-7.
So what's your over-under on that though? Give me your percentages. Like if I'm going to give you $10 right now, how much are you giving me? Go ahead. This is an audio podcast. I mean, I don't know. Like, do I play that? Like,
I don't know that I'm in the position to do caster math. I'd say it's likely that they don't. They do not win.
Give me. I'm
you
gonna give you
want
10
a percentage?
Bucks. Give me a fake $10. So I'm gonna give you 10 bucks.
I'd be willing to bet up to like. Granted, this is speaking to my stupidity, but like $100 that they don't.
So I give you 10. You're giving me 10-1? Come on, dude.
I don't think it's likely. I don't think it's
not
likely
10-1 though. Come on.
Yeah,
it's like
it's 10-1.
Highest I would go is like 3-1, like $30.
But I give you one better. I think they're going 0-11 in a row. So they lost
for map differential. Or
no.
Or are you talking
like
just
11 matches lost in a row?
Yeah.
So they started losing at the last week of stage 1 against Atlanta Reign. Then they're going to lose all of stage 2. And then stage 3, their first matches are, I believe, against New York Excelsior, San Francisco Shock, and Boston Uprising. That would make it 0-11. And then the week after is Paris.
I think they beat Paris.
You want to hear something that's going to just, oh man, it's going to break Yiska's brain.
Okay.
Joe is going to go like red. I'm going to say that Houston Outlaws are going to beat the Dallas Fuel at the end of the weekend.
Ooh.
I don't hate that idea.
I really don't either. Like it's Dallas. It's going to be here's the thing. It's going to be one of those things. It's going to be one of those things where I have to read through your stupid YouTube comments of like, what a stupid take, and I'm going to be wrong, and I'm going to be like, okay, you're so smart. I'm going to say it. If there's a game for them to win over the next 4 or 5 weeks, it's the grand finale in Texas against Dallas. Oh, but they do not look good though.
Do Dallas look good?
Really?
Do Dallas look good?
Not as bad as Houston though. Not as bad as Houston.
Yeah, but Houston is like the epitome of like consistently inconsistent. They'll like turn it on for like the most random weeks. They're the original Atlanta Reign beats NYXL. That's Houston.
Yeah, no.
Houston plays up to the level of their opponent very often. But what I will say is
I don't like Houston, by the way. Like this is not Team Houston here. This is just saying like if I'm gonna take an over-under bet, I'm gonna say that Houston. I disagree with you. Houston wins this week and then doesn't win for the next how many matches that is.
I think it's close. Dude, I think the 2 matches that they could win are Dallas and Guangzhou, but I still
if they win both matches in Texas hard is real.
Texas is real hard.
It's real. I'm taking it. I'm taking it seriously.
It's the same thing that we said kind of about Boston. Like if Boston gets into playoffs and does these things, we believe in the system, and we'll start, giving them the benefit of the doubt.
They're not giving me any kind of hope. Yeah, there's no hope to be given. There's no track record of success. The roster's in free fall. Jake's out of it. You have your GM arguing with people on Twitter and going on hour-long rants. I don't know, guys. I don't think Houston is going real well. I think Houston
shoulder muscles. Have you seen it? It's just like boom.
Houston not good. No bueno, inside and out. I would imagine.
All right, fair enough. We're way off this week. We got to go through pretty quickly on this one. What are we at for time here?
Where are we at?
Yeah, we're at 52 minutes. We're doing all right. Let's talk about some games of the week, though. Here, Texas Homestand edition. I don't have a sounder, so just...
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah. What?
Am I like suffering Mandela effect, or did they not change the branding of this whole thing? Was it not the Homestead?
I've never seen Homestead except for other people not directly. I feel like it's more of an autocorrect issue than a branding issue.
Okay,
Homestand.
maybe.
Homestead doesn't make any sense. Homestand, stents.
I mean,
it doesn't make any sense to me.
Could be just me, but again, don't need to derail any farther on that.
Anyways, coming up, there's 4 matches that we want to highlight this week. Not bad considering we only got 2 days of matches.
Yeah.
By the way.
God damn it, are these matches awful. Oh.
They are not my favorite. I'll say that for sure. It was, yep. All right. So.
Not good.
Let's so before we go any further, reminder, Homestand starts at 9 a.m. Pacific time on Saturday and 10 a.m. Pacific time on Sunday. So,
Really?
Yep.
That's early.
Pacific, I mean, they're Central time, so that's
that's even early
11 and 12.
Eastern though.
Mm-hmm.
That's like early.
I mean, it's not though. It's an hour earlier. One day is an hour earlier than how Overwatch League normally starts. Because it normally starts at noon, right? And one day they start at 11. This is not an incredible concept. I'm surprised. You guys are so smart.
Wait, no, it's 3 hours earlier than the earliest time.
Yeah, didn't you just say that it started at like 9 a.m. your time?
Pacific time. They start Central. Dallas is Central.
Call me Pepega. I'm lost. Anywho.
Plus 2 hours. So 11 a.m.
You're not.
and 12 p.m.
You're not going to explain it to me. I'm just stupid. I'm checked out at this point. Volaplad's in the chat.
You're going to like
Volamel.
The episode of Game of Thrones in 6 weeks.
Kicked Volamels in chat, please. Thank you.
I'm next.
Anyways, least important of them all. Anyways, that's when they're happening. Chengdu Hunter versus London Spitfire. Chengdu, of course, the Moss. I loved saying this in front of Volamel. It's the Moss 7 Club of Overwatch League. They are. Tell me they aren't, but they are. So Chengdu currently 2-2, 9-7 with a +2 differential, going up against the London Spitfire 4-0, 12-2-2. Strong, doing all right. Is there a world? And you know what? I'm going to give this to Joe first. I haven't asked Joe first a lot. Is there a world where Chengdu overcome the London Spitfire in Dallas?
No. We talked about this earlier. I'm not completely bought in with London, but I'm much more willing to be comfortable putting them as favorites in their matches now. I think they finally look like they have their bearings with their roster. They have their bearings with the metagame. Everything looks positive. There's still some reservations I have with London and in particular Seoul, that there's going to come a time where they just throw a match and you don't know why. There's really no rhyme or reason why they just throw all of a sudden. Is that going to happen here? No, I've not been a big fan of Chengdu. I thought they were going to do really well. For whatever reason, it feels like they've just become a massive cheese team, whereas last stage I thought that they had just a very different style rather than just being gimmicky. Now it feels like they're they're too far gone from the rest of the pack to really make any stabs. I think everybody is massively improved. I think London's massively improved. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be close. I think this is probably London 4-0 without much effort.
Whoa, okay.
Like I think like we talk about like the Clown Fiesta and how you don't want to play into Chengdu style. What's Chengdu style right now? They like to play DPS outside of their weird Symmetra leapfrog strats. Oh, you want to run DPS against London? Oh, okay. Here's Prophet. Here's Bergring. Granted, he hasn't looked great this season. Put him on some DPS, probably does a lot better. Legacy DPS player. Yeah. I think that's a team that no matter what style Chengdu throws at them, you could just mimic them and just be better at it. If it's goats, cool. Here's our goats. You're dead. Oh, you want to play DPS? We'll play DPS into you. You're dead. Like, I don't see a world where Chengdu does well.
Yeah, no. Like, London is going to clap that. And the fun thing about London is I don't know if there's a player in the Overwatch League that currently is more in tune with the meta, what's going on, how it's played, the different play styles, how the opponent plays, and possibly like that is an outlier experience where in terms of game sense, I'm not sure if we've seen a player more in tune with how it's played right now than Fury is at the moment. Sure. This guy reads the diary of every single Zarya he's playing against. Like, oh, I'm insecure. Like, I'm not sure if I can bake this cake on the weekend. He knows about that shit everywhere, dude. Like, the amount of graphs he eats is unreal.
I'm constantly impressed with him and Janu in particular.
First person of him is miraculous and has been for much of the season, I would say. Like, this is, at this point, Prophet is still nuts on basically everything he plays. I think Fury shines brighter right now. It is a meta for that, but my God, dude, like, it is pretty nuts how he, I think carries that team.
Fair enough.
Pretty sick.
So here's the thing. I'm not wild on the Gladiators in the sense that, they're a 6-0 team right now. And I'm like,
yeah,
that doesn't mean they're the best team in Overwatch League. Obviously they haven't really Seoul. Did they play Seoul?
Who?
I feel like they played Gladiators.
Yeah.
I think they did.
Not this stage. Let me look. Hold on. Continue.
But the London Spitfire are a team that I am legitimately optimistic about. They've played some teams. They haven't always played like they haven't been decisive, but they've been decisive enough. Like 2-1 over Florida, you're like, ooh, that's awkward. 4 over Atlanta Reign, you're like, oh, that's expected. 2-1 over Fusion, you're like, okay, that says something. And then this last week, 4-0 the Uprising, like they've just looked better overall. I'm trying to see, am I missing another?
So Gladiators beat Seoul in week 1.
They did. That was their only real test, right?
Yeah.
Like if you look at it from a power rankings perspective,
like
that was the only team that you look at and go, if there's a team to be an upset, that's the one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
that's like the toughest match by a country mile.
Yeah.
Dude, this happens to. It is unreal. Okay, they couldn't have known the power distributions, but like, it's some Neo Matrix level shit. How the top teams avoid each other in this schedule. It's unreal. Can we have a fucking good match
so
of
many
the
duds.
stage playoffs?
There's just so many duds.
There are a lot of duds, and I don't even like last season we had this, but it wasn't to this extent. I felt like
no, did we?
I feel like
I think we had some pretty big duds, but for the most part,
70% of the teams, but we added 300% the number of bad teams. So I don't know. All right, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I don't know.
I want to go on to this next one. I want to talk about Houston Outlaws versus Dallas Fuel. I'm going to go first. I'm going to say Outlaws are taking this one. 3-2. Exactly how I want it. I know. I get it. Disagree with me all you want. This needs to be fun. Houston Outlaws are going to, I don't want them to win. I don't think they should win. I don't think they're a better team than Dallas Fuel, but I think they're going to find a way to beat Houston Outlaws here. Joe.
Yes. What do I think? Not a lot. I think this is pretty cut and dry for me. I'm not a huge fan of Dallas. I think they've been pretty sloppy, but I think that they'll have a lot harder time against Valiant than they will against Houston. I think Valiant seem to be getting on the same page. They seem to be improving slightly. Houston does not look good. I think inside and out they're burning. I can't wait for this team to finally get done with their logistical nightmare of trying to sell whatever Infinite Esports, whatever. I'd love to see this team actually start to make changes because I'm tired of seeing them week by week.
Can I just say, by the way, how much courage it takes for me to disagree with both Joe and Yiska? just saying. To go against the grain of these two is just kind of like saying, I don't know, like, I'm going to make a unoxygenated rocket and go to the moon.
Hey, homie, I had some bad takes last week. If you'd have asked me about something, like, you missed some absolute duds of mine. Like, oh, Chengdu beats Gladiators? No. Dallas beating Seoul? No. Boston edging out over London?
Anyways.
No.
But I appreciate that you can still like believe in that human aspect and whatever, but I'm just like a jaded old esports guy that's just like, nah, they're gonna get clapped. That shit doesn't happen in esports. Like,
all right, there you go. Well, I hope that next week I can just pounce on both of your faces.
So this is where you double down. Does Guangzhou lose to Houston in week 5?
Yes.
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere.
Yes. I literally think that the biggest factor going in, and I'm definitely a read the room type of person. The biggest factor for Houston Outlaws playing out of their minds this week is the fact that they're in Texas. Put them back in Burbank. Dallas Fuel wins this 3-1.
I would be so much more willing to agree with you if, weirdly enough, if they had Jake. If they didn't rotate Arhan into the roster, which seems to be permanent. If they had Jake, who seems to be an emotional center point of this team, at home, they rally around him.
Team. Try playing your bad team in Texas without Jake. They're not going to do it. Jake's going to play. Double down.
Nope.
Jake's going to play.
I'll be much more willing to give that to Houston.
Overwatch is an anime to you, isn't it?
You think the hero returns with the plot armor on?
There are magical moments in competition.
Is Jake the Night King? Is that what you're telling me?
I don't know. I haven't seen the show. So just kidding. If there were a time for us to see Jake, it's in Houston. It's to energize that crowd. They are emotional. Yes, these are all quantitative or qualitative. Qualitative. Thank you. And oh man, Io Stuck's gone from Uprising Academy. If he's not signing a deal with an Overwatch League team, you're a joke. Was that too quick of a hot take? Like,
I think that's more tame than the Houston beating Dallas one.
Fair enough.
I mean, let's be honest. They failed to make playoffs. Yes, they had some big, problem or the roster was shuffled around because they sold some players and then they had some other restrictions, had some other problems. Were supposedly had players signed, whatever, like that back and forth. That can rattle a season for you, but ultimately the requirements, I suppose, for an Uprising team that wants to continue selling players, not selling players while making trials.
Yep, that's true.
I don't know. I'm gonna I don't even want to read. I don't even want to read the comments this week. Can I just say? I don't want to read the comments.
Tripod's looking up from his.
You don't have to.
It needs to even be close. If it's within, if Houston take it to 2-1 or 3-2, I'll look at this as a victory.
I'll give you this. I think if they play Jake, I think they can take him out. I think they can win.
Hot takes here.
I think Jake's.
It's about damn
Jake's
time one of us did it. I think he is too, but it's a lot more lucrative.
Oh, you want me to absolutely ruin the YouTube?
A lot more lucrative, a lot more fun, and a lot more consistent if you just cast and you don't actually play. Tell me it's not. It's not. It is. I know how much those guys make. All right. Game 3. Spark versus Hunters. Big one. And this is kind of a double one. Because Joe added it last minute. Spark played Chengdu and London.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Chengdu versus Spark first.
See, this is where I go. Is Spark head and shoulders above Chengdu at every style, like I said London was? And I don't think they are. So I think they actually have to prep pretty hard for Chengdu. Whereas I don't think... I think there's a lot of separation of practice, or you have to practice against a lot of weird stuff when you play Chengdu. And you don't have to practice a lot of weird stuff when you play Paris. Where if it is, you look at London, they play Paris and then they play Chengdu. But there again, I think you can wash Chengdu. You don't have to prep. I don't think you have to prep for them. I think that mechanically at a foundation, you should be able to beat them pretty handily. Spark, I think, is going to all in Chengdu, and I think they're going to lose to Paris. I think it's close versus Chengdu, but I have to give it to Spark.
All right, Yiska, where are you at, man?
I think that's the last of my power. I bring myself to care about this team. Oh man, is that a shit fucking matchup? Oh yeah, man, I mean, care less.
Are you really impressed with any of these matches? To be fair,
no,
none of these matches are good.
Any of the matches happening in Overwatch League right now.
There's no good matches. Which is why the Outlaws have to beat the Fuel. Otherwise, put me to sleep. Play the crickets. I'm done.
Call the anesthesiologist. I'm ready to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can't wait. I cannot conceive of a reality where people say they don't care about stage playoffs, because that is the only time we in Overwatch League get to see top 4 or even top 5 teams play with each other. Like, it's unreal to me that is an opinion that is being held.
Like, I mean, is it really that surprising to you? Because most of these fans are just fans of one team. Like, they don't care about good. They care about their team. They care about, I need the Atlanta Reign to win. I don't care about New York versus San Francisco. Couldn't care less. Does it really surprise you that that's the case? Doesn't surprise me personally.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, honestly, the bottom tier is too big. But man, is the mid tier
mid tier is not too far off, to be completely honest. I think there's like 2 separate tiers within the mid. Like, there's some like lower middle of the pack, and then there's the upper middle of the pack that can kind of like take some maps here and there. But yeah, just very, very dud heavy. A lot of birds for planes to fly into. It's not fun. No bueno.
Man,
kind of tired of it. Yeah. I mean, I agree. Like, last stage, it wasn't any better. Like, we had, I think, the week 3, 4.
It's just
4 or 5, somewhere in there. It was just
in my mind, like, nah, these stage playoffs, we can do without them. I really didn't like Shock against Vancouver in the stage playoffs. I could do without. Make the season a little bit shorter so I can shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Come on.
Dang it, dude, I gotta leave. So here's the thing. I have to now remove the clean tag from the podcast.
Yeah, he's dropped too many.
Unbelievable.
It's when people have too bad opinions, I can't.
You can't just like summon your narcolepsy to...
I'm on heavy Adderall to make it through the week, so...
Jeez.
Are you telling me now you're removing the clean tag and now you're abusing prescription drugs? Is that what you're telling me?
No, also non-prescribed drugs.
All right. Yiska, I'm sorry, but I don't think we have time for your owl format conversation.
That's fine.
We'll put that up there with the old roster lock 2-2 break in case of emergency, and there's nothing really to talk about.
Sure
we have a roll queue conversation queued up, and we have the owl format conversation queued up. So we do have a couple mailbag questions. Chat, continue to bring those questions.
Yeah, bring them up. We'll do like a quick little lightning round and wrap up and get on out of here.
Yeah, we got another, like, normally we don't go longer than like 75 minutes is the goal, but we're gonna go a little long this week. Question number 1, and sorry because we don't have the name of the person who answered.
That's my bad.
So blame you.
You know who you are. You know who you answered.
What do you think of London's improvements, and do you think they can keep this upward trend going into playoffs? Joe.
That's first. Where I have to add, like, I need more context because I'm a big whiny baby and need to do everything.
Yep.
Do you mean season playoffs? Do you mean stage playoffs? Like, I agree for both of them for the most part, but yeah.
I think it's stage playoffs.
I'd like some clarifications. If it's stage, then yeah, definitely. If it's season, probably. But yeah, apt cricket moment.
No, I think like the fact that they can get off Ryan more frequently is good. I also think, yes, once again, like they have some marvelous players on that roster. I think Nuss also improved. And
I love how painful that is for you to say.
Yeah, his movement looks better. Yeah, I think they won't be a bye in playoffs for the top 3 teams.
No, I think it's gonna actually be really interesting to see London in stage playoffs. Like London versus Souls seems like interesting as just like a potential hypothetical. Like London versus Gladiators feels like okay. Like this will be kind of good. as long as they keep their form, obviously.
Oh.
I mean, they've been looking. It's kind of interesting, right? So London have played Florida Mayhem, defeated them 2-1, which is not the decisive victory you want to talk about for a top team in Overwatch League. But then they 4-0 Atlanta Reign, who were a playoff team last stage, minus Defran, to be fair. Then you go into 2-1 over Fusion. Again, close win against a team that is definitely like, how would you describe the Philadelphia Fusion right now? Middle?
Whew, that was very close to me going back down there. I was almost hitting that trash button.
They're not good here, right? But what is not good for Philadelphia? Is that 10? Is that 15?
I think it's below 10. I think they're below.
It's below 10 for sure. But like, where are they? 15 to 10, or are they 20 to 15? Right now in the current iteration,
14, 13.
Yeah. So London beating them isn't the most impressive thing in the world, I guess, in that respect. Then we continue on. We go 4-0 the Boston Uprising. That's the decisive one, right? That's the one where you kind of go, oh, okay, yeah, London's on the up and up.
Yeah.
Like,
by the way, just as a side point, Sideshow actually had them in his, I think, upper mid tier. Sideshow.
No. What team?
Fusion.
Sorry, I've been pulling questions. Fusion, upper mid tier.
Like,
dude,
right now,
this guy,
stage 2?
This guy is still living in the treehouse. It's unreal. You never left it, mate. Like, if you think Fusion currently is a top team, that's some lost shit, dude. You're right there. You thought you left it. You haven't. You're still feeding on Heidi's delicious food. You can still taste it while you're eating cardboard at the Overwatch League arena. Nah,
all
dude.
Right.
You're like,
all right. So my answer to this is I honestly don't think that I'm not as optimistic about the Spitfire as other people are, because their wins haven't been decisive enough against bad teams. I don't care if they beat good teams. When you can't win decisively against bad teams, it's almost worse. So I don't know. Would you consider Agilities washed? All right. Should Surefour be traded from LA Gladiators?
Well, okay, hold on. I would love to see Agilities actually traded. I wonder
how many teams has he been on?
I wonder
now?
what he could. One.
Who would do better washing than Washington Justice?
He has only been on one. Who am I thinking?
You hate to send people to jail.
What am I?
Grim, one team.
That's very un-American of you, by the way.
What?
Hating to send people to jail.
Sure.
It's a free
Cue
market,
the crickets.
man.
What? Oh, yeah.
Just for you.
Yiska hating on Americans. Name a more iconic duo.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I would like to see him within a different system. But until then, yeah, he's not good. Simple as that. Not a big fan.
I don't want to answer any of these other ones. They could take a little while. They're good ones. They're good questions. I don't think we can do it.
We'll keep it short.
All right, keep them short. Should Surefour be traded from the Gladiators, and does Bishu ever get his job back?
I think Surefour probably I think he'll want to be traded, and Bishu will probably leave as well. I think both players probably want to start, and I think both players probably could start on some teams in league.
Here's a play that makes a lot of sense to me, but might not internally. Surefour to Dallas.
Ooh.
I think if our gods allow anything else but a goats meta, and they lost the fact, right?
Yeah.
and they are still lacking a Widow specialist, and they're still, in my mind, Zachary. I'm not sure if he's working out. And also keep in mind, Dallas always put marketability pretty high up on their hiring list. So in that regard, also Jane having worked with Chauffeur and stuff like that.
Sure.
If the shoe fits, right?
I think Bishu goes to Justice and does well. I like that move. I like that move.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Should Blizzard take drastic steps to change GOAT's meta, even if they don't come into effect until stage 4?
Yes. I like GOATs, but it doesn't fit their MO. I think, and this could just be my prescription, I think they want to do heavy outreach and they want to bring in people that don't normally watch games, and watching two masses of avatars run into each other and one kind of emerges the victor isn't really fitting of that. So I think they have to.
Except in Hearthstone.
I think, real quick, the worst that can happen this season is if they don't and the meta only changes for playoffs. Trash if that's the case. That would be terrible.
Okay. We did talk about this behind the scenes for a good chunk of time, but do you think that these top teams wouldn't be able to adapt? I'm not putting it past the league to have some upsets where they don't, but I think Vancouver probably could adapt really well into that. Are they going to be the unequivocal top team? Probably not, but I think they'd still be within like that S tier. I think Shock probably still does fine, and I think NYXL still probably pull something together at the very least.
My fear is that somehow, like a spark sneaks into the playoffs through the play-ins, lucks their way through, lucks out on the playoffs, and suddenly beat NYXL or Vancouver.
Like
my season is ruined.
You do not want an MVP sniper. You do not want a forgettable champion that just like, hey, I won, guys, and you don't remember anything past that. You don't want that. It's got to change. I'm still of the opinion it needs to change soon, and it can. We still have that midweek break, so it's definitely a possibility. But all in all, I do think it probably has to change.
All right, last one. You guys suck at keeping these quick.
That's Yiska.
Do you think Houston could be successful at this stage if they had a fully staffed and replaced coaching staff, or do you think the playoffs lack thereof is their biggest downfall?
I think the players lack thereof is their biggest downfall.
Players, sorry, thank you.
Both.
I'd say both.
Yes.
I'd love to see them retool the upper management.
It's one of the most consistently mediocre teams.
And something needs to change.
Like,
and they're getting
even when
worse.
They made playoffs, they were never like, oh my God, they're so good.
Yeah,
I think they
outside
know.
of like stage 1 and season 1.
That's the thing. They know. They just can't. That's their problem. And that's why I cannot give full responsibility to them. And also they shouldn't let that come to them, because they if you're bad and your hands are tied and making positive changes, there's only so much responsibility you can assume.
100%.
Do what Shanghai does. Make changes.
You can't though. Like their money's frozen.
Sure, but
that's where the buck stops. It's like they can't do anything because their management's just like, we're trying to sell guys, so do something.
Yeah.
Which sucks. It sucks for everybody. Sucks for me. Sucks for the viewer. Sucks for the league. Sucks for the players, because I'm sure they would like to be not on a bad team. Just sucks all around. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, they could do much better. Like there's improvements to be made. There's improvements that I'm sure they'd like to do, but they just can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, Houston, they could be good. I think they got some. They have good pieces. They're very much like Florida. They have like some gems, and then outside of that, it's just like.
Okay. All right. I think on that note, I think it's time. Yeah.
No, there's no confirmation that the money is frozen. It's just in reference to their parent organization trying to sell. It's just
that much is proven, I think.
Yeah, that much is like, if you're a lot of sources who are reliable in Overwatch, competitive Overwatch, have like reported this. So there's always the 1% chance of like, hey, what if everybody's lying and getting bad info? That's probably not happening here.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think that was the Jacob Wolf thing, though, so I trust that.
I trust that. But if Optic is making moves in other avenues, then I have some more questions. But maybe we can bring that up next episode. I'll have to look into that.
I think we probably should bring it up next episode because we're a little over. You get a little extra. You get a little extra tactical crouch this week. Thanks, guys, for hanging out, by the way. Fun conversation overall. I think, man, I don't want to hear your if you post a comment on YouTube about my Outlaws pick, I'm deleting it.
You dig your hole. No,
I'm deleting it.
See what happens if you're right, though.
I'll bring it back. Bring it right back. Sorry, I'll screenshot it.
You love the engagement. A hater and a lover still pays the same CPM. So, leave your comment. That's fine.
Oh, man. All my actual outro music, like I had recreated a long one. And it went back to my short one. And that makes me upset. We're going to try it again. See if it's right. We'll figure it out. Anyways. Yeah. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe.
So, Joe, when are we playing WoW?
Never. You boys broke. Yeah, not happening probably. Maybe next expansion. Expansion.
Yiska, when are you going to learn your shaman with me on NA servers and WoW? Was it shaman that you were playing that one time? Way back.
I think he was a druid.
Might have been a rogue.
Not that. No,
I was playing monk.
But
monk.
Oh, well, I guess we were both wrong.
All right.
Yeah, come play Diablo with me. Shuttle me, please. DM me and shuttle me.
He needs a pay pig.
On NA.
It's a sugar daddy.
All right. Fair enough. All right. Let's go ahead and get out of here. Before we do, Joe, Yiska, anything fun coming up this week people need to be on their lookout for? Joe.
I believe we are tentatively recording a podcast for all you Chinese fans today or within the week. So be on the lookout for that. And I have I've gotten the itch for writing again. So got a couple of projects in the works. So be on the lookout for that sometime in the near future.
Cool. What about you, Yiska?
I think I'm going to do more of these VOD reviews, and I'll stream them live on Twitch, but then export the VOD to YouTube where people can enjoy them. I want to look at Seoul because I slept on them definitely. I want to look a little bit more into London, and even Shanghai is interesting.
Fair enough. I watched a little bit there. I watched a little bit of your VOD review that you did yesterday or 2 days ago. So
I think it was yesterday.
Yesterday, yep.
Keep
for
doing
me
that.
Anyway. That's it. Mm-hmm.
For sure. Also, as for me, you can find me everywhere at KickedTripod. Don't have a ton of stuff going on here except for Tactical Crouch, but definitely do let us know what you think about some more Tactical Crouch throughout the week and talking about, doing some cool perks with Patreon. Again, here's a few things that we've kind of already decided. Number one, we're never going to gate the content either by time or by length based on if you're a patron or whatever. That's just, I don't know, kind of a douchey thing to do. So we don't want to do that. But if loading a Patreon meant that you maybe got an extra 2 or 3 episodes of Tactical Crouch a month, some maybe game nights, some other cool perks, let us know what you think.
Maybe you get your question asked and answered. We'll do a whole mailbag episode maybe once a month where we just bang out all the questions you have,
bang them out,
personal or Overwatch related.
So something we're thinking about doing. We're not totally committed to it. So we want to know your thoughts on that. Other than that, make sure to follow Tactical Crouch everywhere at tactical_crouch. Search the Tactical Crouch podcast or Tactical Crouch, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Stitcher probably still. You can find us everywhere to listen to or watch throughout the week. Make sure to follow everybody on Twitter at KickedTripod, at Volamel, and at Yiska out. Other than that, I will, if I pledge $500, will you Tactical Crouch on my face? Yes, actually. Yeah, I will.
I've done more despicable things for less money.
Especially with this vague of a statement as that is, like pants on, no problem. So there you go. That's going to do it for episode number 29. Tactical Crouch. We'll see you guys next week or maybe sooner. Who knows anymore? For another episode. Bye, guys.